Welcome back to the crypto simulation. Today, I'm going to do a market update and talk about some different metrics and try to see where we are in this crypto cycle, as well as what to expect next. Let me remind you that nothing that I say is financial advice. Any price predictions are for purely entertainment or educational purposes only. You are responsible for your own investments. Also, please join my free Snake Pit Telegram, and you'll receive a free portfolio management tool that I made myself and that you will find quite useful. So right now, the crypto total market cap is extended above the fair value mean line. It did have a successful backtest of it in January and is now above the 0.5 standard deviation line. Note that in the past two market cycles, we reached just above the 1.5 logarithmic regression line, and in the 2017 cycle, we reached just about the 2.5. So it's reasonable to expect that we would see diminishing returns, taking us to a maximum of being able to achieve somewhere between the 0.5 where we are now and the 1.0 logarithmic regression trend line, which currently right now that sets at around 3.6 trillion. We are currently around 2.6 trillion, so that would represent a $1 trillion influx of money into our space. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting, but you'll notice that we are at some historically very high levels for the stochastic RSI and the RSI for this bull cycle, suggesting that we're further along in this cycle than you might otherwise think, potentially. And especially with the RSI, we are at a level of around 90.85. This is a level that we have only reached a few times in Bitcoin's history, and most recently that was reached in December of 2020, and maintained that level with a little bit of a dip until about March of 2021. And the November top was more of a dead cat bounce of RSI, although stochastic was turned all the way up, indicating that we were going, parabolic. It wasn't as strong of a trend. We were already well into establishing a bear trend. So we are seeing extreme overvaluation. We know that in the 2016 cycle, we hit these levels in May of 2017. We had about 6 months left before the bull cycle ended. If we do pop our head above this, or even where we are now, it would not be that unusual for us to have a correction to send us back down before popping up once again. But this should suggest that we are much later in our bull cycle than we probably realize. The pi cycle top indicator has been a pretty reliable one for determining major market cycle peaks based on the novelty of the pi cycle indicator. And you can see that we have achieved pi cycle tops in April of 2013, November of 2013, December of 2017, and April of 2021. Even though we did end up going higher in November, and that technically is the higher high, and we have to respect that, it was more of a dead cat bounce if you look at things like the RSI and some other metrics. The bullish momentum was already fading out of the market by then, as evidenced by this 50% drop that happened right after our major market cycle peak. So where are we at now? Well, if we look at these two moving averages, right, and if you just want to see what these moving averages are, you're looking at the 350 week down in orange, the 111 week down in orange, and 350 week up in green. And right now we had a death cross of this back in May of 2023, and it looks like we're just starting to curve back around. So we will not trigger this indicator until the orange crosses the green, which could happen as early as August or September of 2024, which is when I am anticipating could mark the end of this bull cycle potentially. And when I say that, I mean having a big major peak at that time. Now, it could come sooner. This could curl up a lot faster than I anticipate that it will, but we are kind of at a pivotal crossroads right now where we notice that a lot of metrics are maxed out or getting close to being maxed out. We are clearly in overvalued territory for Bitcoin on the weekly, and it would not be surprising at all to see a pullback from here. It also wouldn't be that surprising to see another leg up, although that would concern me a little bit, to be quite honest, about the health of our cycle. I'm already concerned with how fast this is going. So you can see on the KZX RSI, we are achieving some pretty high values, and if we want to pull up a horizontal line and see when was the last time we've achieved values this high, just approximating, it's been quite a while. So December 2020 showing up yet again, November 2017, June of 2017. So I don't have to convince you that we are at some exceedingly high levels for RSI right now, and stochastic has also absolutely been maxed out. So yes, I mean, a correction would be very welcome here and needed to be able to continue this bullish momentum in a meaningful way, maybe a couple months down the line. Bitcoin dominance has been having a hard time keeping up with Bitcoin price. It's been oscillating between the 53 and 55 range. It's now down to 53.39. And so the question is this going to break up or break down? I look to the past and I can see that in late 2019, we really started to break down with Bitcoin dominance all the way to September 2020. We haven't really seen a breakdown like that, and this has been one giant bull trend, but you can actually see the bullishness start to wear off. In fact, if I pulled up a parabolic SAR, you can see that these parabolas are getting less impressive with each successive iteration up. So is there more gas in the tank to get up here to the 58 level? I do think eventually we are going to hit this upper trend line just like we did right here in December of 2020. I just can't tell you whether that's going to be now or if we're going to see a dip and then it'll come later, not that much later. You know, maybe we see a little dip into altcoin season and then we get another mania leg up in the summer. That's kind of my base case. So if I were to draw out a path for what I think is likely to happen with dominance, let me go ahead and find my drawing tool. Sorry, I was on the wrong tool. So if I draw out a path, what I think is kind of likely to happen is something, you know, this is oversimplifying it, something kind of like this. And then I'm guessing, you know, maybe around August or September. I'll put September here. And then we'll see dominance trail off. For Ethereum Bitcoin, I'm not as optimistic that this trend line that extends all the way back to September of 2019 is going to hold. We've had several touch points on this trend line that have held, but you keep knocking on this, eventually it's going to fall through, and I think we may be getting near that point where we fall through and see some kind of capitulation of ETH against Bitcoin. And I know Ethereum's been showing some relative strength, so you know, there is that. But the Gaussian channel on the weekly is concave down, and granted it's not as severe as it was in 2019, but it is concave down, so there is some weakness. So I'm not sure if we're going to hold this trend line. This trend line triangle ends in October of 2024, and we should see some kind of resolution to the downside or upside. My bet is on downside long before that happens. And so maybe Ethereum Bitcoin finds some kind of macro bottom underneath here, macro lower low, and then it can build out a base to move higher. Or perhaps we've already built out that base and this is a double bottom and we're just going to blast through this Gaussian channel. So you really should be prepared for either outcome. Just because I'm saying that I think we head down does not mean that we will. So total 3 looks kind of interesting. If you go back to like the breakout point of March 2020, it pretty much rocketed right up until August of 2020, but then it had to consolidate for a few months. I don't know if that's what we're about to see again. Or if this is just gonna, have another major leg up. So, but if we were to track what happened here and try to extrapolate it to here, we would expect some sideways consolidation, and maybe that is what we get. But overall, I'm quite bullish on total 3, regardless of if it goes sideways for a little while. That would not bother me in the least. If it continues to go up, then I'll just assume something's going to pull it down. I don't think. And I could be wrong. I don't think we're in this stage yet of total 3. I think that's coming, but I think we are heading into some kind of altcoin season, and it could be an analog of this altcoin season that we're heading into. I just don't think we're necessarily in that just yet. The Gaussian channel on the weekly just turned green. So when the Gaussian just turned green over here, we weren't quite in the major leg of the altcoin season quite at that time. This is total 3 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin. And you can see that we really kind of started our bear market in January of 2022. And we have just put in what it looks like maybe a triple bottom on this. So this suggests to me at this 0.45 level that all coins are probably done bleeding against Bitcoin. I'm fairly confident that this 0.44, 0.45 level is going to hold as support, and we should see altcoins turn around fairly soon. This is why I'm forecasting that we're likely to have a major altcoin season relatively soon. We may spend some time chopping around at these levels, but I think that time is coming pretty soon where we're going to see a major impulsive move up from total 3 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin. This is a potential path I could see total 3 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin taking, allowing for a significant drawback, probably more dramatic than this. Honestly, I think during Bitcoin mania season, I think we could even put in a lower low. That's possible. Let's account for that. Something like this, okay, where we see altcoins have an altcoin season, they run out of steam. I don't know if May might be too soon, maybe adjust that to June, and then Bitcoin goes on a run, leaving altcoins in the dust, and maybe in September that turns around after Bitcoin puts in a major peak in August of 2024, and then altcoins can fly for a little bit longer against Bitcoin. Of course, I don't know that they'd fly necessarily all the way till December, but we can adjust this. This is the point I'm trying to make, is not to make like this super accurate prediction that's necessarily going to play out exactly the way that I imagine it to, but just to give you a general idea of what I expect to happen, although I might not have the timelines exactly right. So where are we at in terms of altcoin season? Well, we're certainly closer to it than we are to Bitcoin season. But if you look back at 2019, it's sort of like, well, are we here where we popped up, peeked our head up above it for a little bit, but then ultimately had a major leg down in early 2020, and then we just kind of chopped around for a while before having another leg down, and then finally getting up above it? Or are we perhaps closer to something like, or are we perhaps closer to something like this right here, where we're about to have a really major leg up, and then come down into Bitcoin mania, and then come back up again to have our altcoin season? So I guess that depends on your interpretation of what you're seeing here. I mean, I see a pretty strong base of higher lows being built out, and we're just peeking our head above it for a moment there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this have an impulsive move up. We're not going to exactly mirror the past, and altcoins were a lot more volatile here than they are here. We have higher market capitalizations, higher altcoin dominance just in general, so we shouldn't expect to see quite as volatile moves to the downside. We will see moves to the downside, it's just I don't think they'll be as volatile as they were in the past, well, to the downside or to the upside. Although I do think we'll see altcoins have their time in the sun where they're way over here at some point. Those kind of moments are pretty rare. As you can see, they haven't happened very often. They happened in late 2022, coming out of our altcoin reckoning. They happened in the bull peak of 2021, happened in 2018. If you want to go back even further, happened in 2017 also. That was the altcoin reckoning there too. One of several reckonings. So my base case is this is going to break out to the upside. That's what I'm thinking, and I'll show you another reason why I think that. So another reason I think that is because of Others' dominance. Others' dominance is in a very strong uptrend right now. In fact, it's in a macro uptrend. Sorry, let me delete that. If you were to zoom out, I don't know how far out we want to zoom, maybe to here, you could actually see, you could draw a trend line, and Others' dominance has been in a macro uptrend. This is not surprising. The altcoin space is maturing. Altcoins are not what they used to be. So you might wonder, is this about to roll over? It could. I mean, that's certainly what happened in late 2020. We could see that happen. It could roll over and test this trend line. Or we could note that something different than what happened in 2020 is we've actually held the line on the green Gaussian channel. We did not do that in 2020. So perhaps we consolidate here for a little while and then blast off. Remember, history does not have to repeat exactly the way it did before. In fact, this move down, this V-shaped move, actually mirrors this V-shaped move. And, like I said, could we get another one? It's possible. It's certainly possible. Corresponding to Bitcoin dominance going to the stratosphere. But before that happens, maybe we will go up a little bit more. That would be my base case. I think Others' dominance is going to go up a little bit more, and before it comes down and tests this trend line very quickly and then goes back up again. So let me draw that out. So this is a potential path that I could see playing out with the altcoin market, perhaps. Thanks for joining me for this market update at the crypto simulation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell to be notified of future video releases. And join my free Telegram group at the Snake Pit, and you'll get a free portfolio management tool designed by me to help you manage your assets and know exactly where you are at any point in this market cycle, completely free to anyone who signs up in my Telegram during the month of March. And so periodically I'll be posting alerts in there in my Snake Pit to make you aware of that tool so you can download it for yourself. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day or evening wherever you are, and enjoy your time navigating the crypto simulation.